Movement to me is best described through a narrative about swimming. Through swimming, I am able to express my emotions and feelings. While swimming and movement, I am able to focus my mind and energy on a singular task and forget the rest of the world. A feeling of inner peace and calmness takes over, and the continuous movement of my body through each stroke allows me to experience a state of flow. My epistemological view of swimming has always been a view from within competitive swimming culture. My coaches want me to train hard and focus, and it is a very competitive environment where poor race times could see a swimmer drop from the team. This environment has led me to always keep pushing myself regardless, and I find it difficult to swim just for fun. My experiences of swimming have always been one of positivity and success, as I have had a relatively successful swimming career to date.
I learned to swim when I was young, and my experiences of swimming have generally been one of social and fun. Swimming has always been a fun activity to do at the beach to cool off, or going to the pools to have fun and relax with family and friends. I've always associated swimming with the beach and spending time with family. When I swim, I often find it a good way to relax and unwind. Being interested in sports has meant I have been interested in watching professional swimmers, and has always interested me to take a phenomenological view of how they achieve such quick times through the water.
The dive is a discrete skill that is performed at the start of a race. The dive in a competitive setting is a closed skill, as all factors that can influence it remain the same, and the effectiveness of the skill is down to the technique and performance of the competitor. A motor program is a representation of movement that organizes and controls the degree of freedom involved in performing. In order to dive effectively, we need to be disciplined and precise in our movement. There is limited freedom of the movement in order to get the best technique.
By breaking the dive down into sub-routines, Helena was able to teach me how to dive more effectively, as we minimized the amount of information I needed to focus on by utilizing a more closed environment. Using the whole part whole method of teaching, Helena broke the dive down. This allowed me to go through different phases of learning. By doing the whole dive first, I was able to discover the movement for myself. Then develop one part of the movement before adding it to the next. Finally, consolidating the whole movement through practice.
The first part of the dive involved teaching the streamline phase and focusing on arms and head position by doing a sitting dive. I then added the legs from a crouching dive so to focus on diving out rather than down. Finally, diving from on the board and using the arms and legs first as propulsion off the board, and then moving into the streamline position whilst in the air.
By watching Helena dive, I was able to form a mental picture of how to dive, the cognitive phase. Whilst diving, I was able to learn through doing the movement, the associative phase. Through more practice and continued feedback, I could potentially reach the autonomous stage of skill acquisition.
I gave Dan feedback, both verbal, pointing out good and poor points of his technique, and visual, showing him by demonstrating and using the video camera. I also used some tactile feedback, both terminally and concurrently, by moving his arms into the correct position after executing a poor dive and helping him through the sitting dive.
Right down. Sit. Okay. Arms in streamline. Alright, now push off.
Verbal feedback was done whilst on the blocks or concurrently, so as to correct position whilst I was executing the movement. Other feedback was terminal and done after executing the movement. I was able to get feedback through movement and adjust bad habits while executing the dive. For example, my hands moving out of streamline position and then back into streamline position here.
By using the movement education framework, we can analyze the position of the diver as they spring into the water. We can compare both my position on the blocks and Dan's from a sagittal plane. I am crouched over the blocks. My neck is neutral with eyes looking down. I have evenly distributed my weight between my feet. My arms are stretched out and fingers curled around the block to add propulsion as I pull myself forwards off the block. My back is curved and knees slightly bent in preparation of the dive to follow. Contrastingly, Dan's weight is more on his front foot as he is leaning further forward, creating a smaller base of support. His neck is tilted up and eyes looking out. Dan's legs are less extended than mine and he is hunched over the block. A much more effective method for analysing the dive is a systematic observational strategy. This allows us to split the dive down into 3 temporal phases: preparation, action, and follow-through.
In the preparation phase of the dive, our path of hub is over our base of support, our body weight is on our front foot, our trunk is facing down from the target, our head is facing our knees, our legs are split and weight on the front leg, both arms are extended to the block and fingers gripping onto the block.
In the action phase of the dive, the path of hub and body weight move towards the target. The trunk opens from the curled position towards the streamline position, eyes on target. The leg action is to propel the body towards target and squeeze together. The arms are thrown forward into streamline position, pointing hands towards target. Flip toes downwards to spring off the board.
As we can see in the action phase of my dive, my legs are not squeezed together, demonstrating poor technique. In the follow-through phase of the dive, the path of hub moves through the target, the body weight is balanced in the water, the trunk is fully extended, the head is facing down towards the bottom of the pool, the legs and arms are fully extended and squeezed together. On impact, streamline position is held as we enter the water through the target.